Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about manga and anime, particularly about the state of shonen. And there has been a very interesting video on YouTube by the channel For Never News or For Never World. It's a really good channel. I like it. Sometimes watch some of his videos. Really a good source of news if you're interested in manga and anime. Always has some updates on what's up in the community, mangaka, and in the industry. What things are happening, but I want to have a different focus. I want to more look at the medium itself, not so much at the industry. Shonen, for everyone, is considered a genre sometimes, but it is actually more of a target demographic, or a demographic that is targeted. Shonen means young boy, the equivalent for older boys in their teens, or young adolescents would be seinen. But like I said, it's it's sometimes more considered a genre. That's because, of course, the audience is not just young boys. We have many grown-ups, not just boys, girls, adult men and women, and many of these series span a long time. If we just take most famous, One Piece, now having reached over 1,000 chapters, just having passed the 1,000 chapters at the beginning of this year. I think the most recent chapter is chapter 1019. Very interesting. But this is not, it's not about that today. It's more about shonen in general. So, most famous publication magazine is Shonen Jump, owned by Shueisha. So I will be talking obviously about lots of shonen manga series that got released inside, or at least first released through the Shonen Jump magazine. I think all of these magazines later got their own release as bundled manga, and then often anime adaptations. But having published so many famous series, we can almost consider it as a birthplace for many of our beloved series. And already carrying the name shonen in the name Shonen Jump, I want to talk a little bit about this genre, because there are certain characteristics that I think define it, that make it a genre, even through it is actually more about targeting this young boy generation. Originally it became a genre, and I want to go over what are the characteristics, what are the points that make this genre a genre. And to get to the point, get to the main topic of this video, which is the title, the state of shonen, I need to cover some things, some basics, and some shonen history first. So let's go over this. Okay, so here's some characteristics. I tried to make out 5 characteristics that I thought were most obvious to me. Number 1, the protagonist is usually a kid or teen, at least at the beginning of the story. That's the main characteristic, and I think that makes sense because usually the reader wants to reflect themselves in the story. Like when you're reading a story and you want to get the reader or watcher emotionally involved, you want them to sink themselves into the situation of the main character, of the protagonist, to kind of go through the events themselves as if they are fighting the battles, as if they are going through the struggles themselves. Further points: the protagonist is usually an outcast. This point refers more to their social position. Next, third point, they're kind of a fail, weak, or have no talent. So they're kind of like a imperfect or weak person that comes with a deficit at the beginning of the story, usually with a clear deficit. Point number 4, the main character is usually extremely quirky or has a very extreme personality, more often extroverted rather than an introverted personality. And number 5, lastly, has an outstanding willpower. And it's interesting to note here that from the very early time of many shonen stories, especially published in Shonen Jump, where the characters have been either comedic, like a joke character, or on the other hand, hyper masculine. Two examples here. I will further name. Has moved to characters that are younger, that are kids, that are, like I said, fit these characteristics. Usually socially outcast, having some kind of flaw, a weakness, being quirky and extroverted, and having tremendous willpower to overcome obstacles and to force through the adversities that are coming at them over the course of the story. So I will illustrate this change with some series that I've written down. I think these are the most representative, and at the same time are stories that are well known and all released in Shonen Jump. So let's go through it, and you will soon see where this is going. So let's start with the early time of Shonen Jump. One of its earliest series, and still generating revenue. It's still sold. It still enjoys some kind of popularity, especially in Japan, is Kochikame. Released in 1976. It's about a police officer who's kind of like a goof. His name is Kankichi, and I've seen a few episodes and read a few chapters. It's kind of entertaining, but it's episodic. It's kind of like Tom and Jerry. It doesn't have like a continuous story that progresses. There's no overarching narrative. very episodic, very goofy. It's kind of like comedy. Another famous series, Hokuto no Ken, in English known as, with the English title, The Fist of the North Star. Also one of the oldest series, a total counterpart to Kochikame, was a very masculine character, muscular. Most famous today was the meme, お前はもう死んでる。
貴様の拳などかほどにも効かんわい。お前はもう死んでいる。何？もうは匠でひぜぶ。
Not much. It doesn't have much of a deep story. But it's kind of like an opposite, like a real opposite to all the more goofy and silly and episodic content released of the time. Hokuto no Ken also generating still lots of revenue. I think it is still the as a whole franchise, from manga originating, it is still the most successful in terms of total net worth, second most successful series in Japan, following One Piece. So that's pretty amazing. And one might ask, where does all the worth come from? And one has to know it's about pachinko in Japan. And Hokuto no Ken is still used for a lot of pachinko machines. So a lot of the net worth for this series, Hokuto no Ken, comes from the pachinko industry, that you have a lot of these machines in the pachinko parlor, where people play. Pachinko is basically gambling. You play with small steel balls. You buy a set of balls, put them in the machine, and then the game is running. It's a gamble. It's a luck game. There's a form of interaction with the machine. You can interact with the game, but it's limited. And in the end, it boils down to luck. So you win. You can win more steel balls back than you invested, and then you can trade the steel balls back to get money. Kind of the system kind of blew up in Japan because gambling by law is not permitted. So this is kind of like a loophole, just as a side note. But going away from this early time of Shonen Jump, next noteworthy series is Captain Tsubasa. It's about a boy playing soccer, building up his team. It goes from a very communal level where Tsubasa and his friends are little kids, elementary school kids. They build their team, their school team. Goes more to a regional level where they play against other teams from other regions in Japan, where they finally get nominated into a national team. It gets always into the next stage. I loved the anime when I was small, but the manga released in 1989, way before my time. What's important here to say or to note is Captain Tsubasa, like many other sports-focused shonen series, are kind of like their own subgenre, like the whole sports manga that revolve around kids playing in teams and fighting their way up to the nationals, where they compete with the other best teams from all over Japan. Um, it's its own genre, that can be more in the shonen or seinen or josei, target the different um, demographics. So sports manga slash anime, its own genre in my opinion, even through it gets released as shonen. So let's move on to the OG grandpa of shonen. It's none other, I think, than Dragon Ball, released in 1984. It was published till 1950. Probably the manga and anime that influenced me personally the most, and I think it is probably it's not an overstatement to say it's probably the one series that influenced all coming future mainstream shonen series. So pretty much everything I'm going to talk about now for the next few minutes. Dragon Ball, I think I don't need to spend much time on explaining Dragon Ball. It's about Son Goku, his journey as a martial arts, getting stronger, meeting friends, at some point growing older, getting into the school of the turtle hermit Muten Roshi, and in the end becoming an adult and fighting always the next big battle in the end. So next on the list we have also quite famous JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or sometimes just called JoJo's, which is kind of like an oddball. Started publication in Shonen Jump in 1987. Was running for quite a long time, and it actually is kind of hard to define. It's almost the title itself says it, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, about the JoJo family, different generations that carry on the last generation, and it gets kind of crazy from show to show. I'm not so into it, but some are. Next on my list, Slam Dunk, released in 1990. Like the title says, it's about basketball. One of the shows, one of the series that I've never read. I read this short summary, so I can confirm that it fits the criteria of shonen manga slash anime, but again, it's I'd say it's more part of the sports manga and shonen sports manga and anime genre, so not necessarily a classic shonen. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Most interesting part for me, the three manga slash animes that influenced me, or that accompanied me for the longest time in my youth time, when I consumed and read lots of manga, watched lots of anime. The big three. One Piece started in 1997. Next, Naruto, 1999. And finally, Bleach started publication in 2001. So, interesting. All these three series are started publication in Shonen Jump, in a close together, in a time frame of just 4 years. One Piece 1997. 2 years later, Naruto started, and then again 2 years later, Bleach started. And back at the time, if you were active and reading online on forums, people were usually arguing which one's the best. As these three were the center of topics and discussions. How they differ in style, in the way the story progresses, the narrative, in terms of character development and stuff like that. So these three have, I think they have some things in common, but they're very different. One Piece, in my opinion, had kind of a slow start, also very noticeable in the anime. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy the early episodes of or chapters of the One Piece story. I think there's some kind of a lightheartedness, but especially when reading the Romance Dawn chapters written by the mangaka Eiichiro Oda, that are not part of the main story One Piece, but were kind of like a one-shot story published in Shonen Jump. Yeah, that's the right term. I had to look it up. Yeah, a one-shot story that is not connected to the main One Piece story, where the universe is not that built out. No spoilers, but in the Romance Dawn, just as in the later iteration, the real One Piece, the main character, Luffy, eats the Gumu Gumu no Mi, the Gum Gum fruit. But it's clear in the story that it's the only of its kind. It's supposed to come from the Gum 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 tree. So there was not that idea of other devil fruits. It had a vastly simpler world. Also, even looking into the real One Piece that then started publication in Shonen Jump, the Marines didn't have that much of a big role at that point yet. Also, there was not that menacing threat of the world government. There were no Yonko, no 4 emperors, none of the 7 warlords, and all that stuff. So I don't want to spam you with the One Piece terminology, but for those of you who know the story, and I think One Piece is, it became the most, like I already said, the most successful franchise, the most successful series as a whole, as a series, with all the merchandise, with all the games and everything. The most successful manga-based series in Japan, in the world. So huge success, and it's still running. One Piece from 1997 till now, still running, still going, and it's still at the top. So one could say it dominated. Maybe not at its time. I think it didn't dominate the big three. It wasn't the one that was the strongest, I think, at that point. But towards the end, once Bleach ended, once Naruto ended, One Piece became the king of Shonen Jump. So I went a bit ahead here. Next to Naruto, the second out of the big three. For me, my absolute childhood favorite, the stories that caught me most about ninja, about Naruto and his struggles. Absolutely amazing story. I think it has its lows in a second big part of the story. It loses a bit of its focus and its original charm. And the power scaling, the power creep is part of that, but still a good series. Naruto, I think, in my opinion, at the time of the big three, I think it was the strongest out of those three. Retrospectively, of course, on the long run, still One Piece succeeded. Next, last and not least, of the big three, Bleach, in my opinion, the Black Horse stands out as visually, in terms of art style, in terms of storytelling, a bit darker, a bit more gritty, a bit more different kind of pacing. I think the mangaka did an amazing job, especially in the early phase of the story. The story later lost a lot of focus, lost a bit of its fan base. Still, highly appreciated still to this day. An amazing manga, and I think one of the best anime adaptation out of it got to one of the best anime adaptations, especially out of those three, out of the big three. Amazing anime for that time. So now that we covered the big three, the OG shonen series, let's move to the new time, to the new shonen age. I think there has been quite a big gap for like a decade where no new noticeable, or not noticeable, but really big mainstream shonen series started to kick off. And so Bleach started publication 2001, and then I think for a decade no big series started, and then a new a bunch of new series started kicking off one after the other. We have in 2014 Boku no Hero, in 2015 Black Clover, then 2016 Kimetsu no Yaiba. More recently, in 2018 started Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, I will not talk so much yet about them. Chainsaw Man is going to have a anime adaptation soon. Jujutsu Kaisen, the anime adaptation started. It's amazing. I think it's great, but the manga is still going. The anime still it's on break, waiting for the next season. So I will leave these two out for now. I will focus talking on the new three, kind of like the new big three, you could say. Boku no Hero, Black Clover, Kimetsu no Yaiba, I think. While Kimetsu no Yaiba clearly, in terms of commercial success, stands on its own pedestal. But first, Boku no Hero. Absolutely amazing show about a hero society where everyone has quirks. Something I didn't like so much. I was kind of like thought it leaned, for me it leaned too much on the whole Western Marvel DC comic side. Like I of course clearly inspired. It just didn't take me. It couldn't capture my interest at first, but amazing story, I think, amazing progression, and yeah, I enjoy it. Black Clover, about the world where everyone has magic. People do their everyday chores with magic, or join the magic military, the magic knights. There's a magic kingdom, and the main character Asta is born without magic. Kimetsu no Yaiba, like I said, on its own pedestal, the commercial success, especially in 2020, amazing. Um, Blew everyone out of the water, especially once the anime kicked off. Um, Everyone was talking about Kimetsu no Yaiba, especially here in Japan. Lots of people liked it. I heard the song, the title song, everywhere, on TV, on the street. I was going past the school, and some kids were singing the Kimetsu no Yaiba song. Almost got on my nerves, but yeah. I think it's very interesting to talk about Kimetsu no Yaiba, the dissecting the reasons for its success, what made it so special, and yeah, just the success. It's monumental. Many people don't know it. It became the best-selling movie, box office movie in movie theaters in the history of Japan, which is kind of crazy. Blew away all the Ghibli movies. For those who don't know, Ghibli, it's a studio, like they make amazing movies. They made amazing movies over the past decades, very different, but all very amazing movies, all worth watching. Some of these are one of the most successful movies in Japanese movie history. But Kimetsu no Yaiba blew them all away, and it's been so successful. It's been so successful and it garnered an audience that's really big. I've had lots of students, younger and older, from preschool to junior high school, boys and girls that slapped all the Kimetsu merchandise everywhere on their back, on their clothes. They wore Kimetsu masks, masks with patterns that clearly were the patterns of some of the characters, like Nezuko or Tanjiro. For those who know the show, you know these characters. Super popular with all the kids, even some adults. And I think there are reasons, and it's really interesting to talk why was Kimetsu no Yaiba so successful. This is going to be a major topic in the future. This is something I really want to talk about, and I also have some criticism for not for Kimetsu no Yaiba itself, the story, but I feel there's some criticism due to for the success, and it sounds silly to criticize not the medium but the success, but I think it's part of the broader topic where consumerism and expectations and for a good story, where that goes.
Last but not least, there are some other noteworthy shows that I like, that got a bit popular recently, maybe. Also Shonen Jump series like Doctor Stone, Ayakashi Triangle. There are also some series that get released on Shonen Jump Plus. It's a new format. But still, here in Japan, people still buy the weekly Shonen Jump. And just to repeat this, it gets released weekly with all these chapters, Shonen Jump. And so you always progress one chapter by chapter, week by week, and I think that's kind of like part of the charm. But in the West, usually we don't get the Shonen Jump magazine. We get the finalized manga volumes when the chapters get bundled, usually 10 to 12 chapters bundled into a single manga volume, and then being released in the West. Except you're reading online, not like I'm officially endorsing pirated chapters, fan translations, early translations. So